Let's talk about how I achieved financial stability by age 26. I was only taking home around 13,000 and I was still able to save and invest more than 100,000. Hi guys, how's it going? It's Lozum Check and welcome back to my YouTube channel. To me, financial stability comes before everything. It comes before financial independence and financial freedom, right? And to me, this means having the peace of mind around money, knowing that I have enough savings and investments in place to weather any shock, to weather any emergency. The first thing I did was to master my money mindset. The one thing that I live by is that money is a tool and you have to use it to achieve financial stability and financial freedom. When you see money, you must not see something that you just use to, get through the day and make sure that you pay bills by the end of the month. It goes beyond that. And at a very early age, I understood that, and that has changed the way that I look at money. When I see money, I always ask myself, what can I do with this money that I have to make sure that my future self is set for success, right? So I told myself that, girl, we are going to take your salary and we are going to build financial stability with. There are people that want to, just chow all their salaries and rely on their extra income to save and invest. And some people really, they don't have any other choice but to adopt that as their way of living, that they're going to have a job and this is going to pay their bills, and then they're going to have something on the side that affords them to save and invest. And it's simply because they cannot afford to save and invest from their salary, right? So myself, looking at how much I was getting and looking at the amount of my expenses at the time, I was like, I don't have any other choice because I afford, actually more than afford, to save and invest the money that I have left after spending. And I made sure that by the end of every month, the first thing that I do is to take money to my savings and my investments. And I focused on my investments, right? I have so much in my investments than I do in my savings. And that also still makes me feel like I'm not yet financially stable because I don't have enough in my savings. I don't have enough in my emergency funds. And like I've said before, that I'm trying to fix that this year. So the total that I was able to save and invest, I think it amounted to close to 5,000, right? But not all of it went to my savings and investments. Some savings were for a reason, maybe to go on a vacation, to improve something at home. But there was a reason for my savings, right? Because that's how it should be. And mastering my money mindset helped a lot. I don't want to lie. Because if you adopt this as a principle, you have no other choice but to live by it. And the one thing also I understood is that there's a saying in Sepedi ere, right? And if today the sun is shining, please just, make the most out of it. And given the fact that I was able to have so much to save and invest, I had no other choice but to save and invest, because I knew that I could wake up tomorrow and things could look completely different, right? And this is where I am today. I will share this in other videos, but where I am today, looking at my budget and how much I'm making, and I'm like, I'm gonna be living paycheck to paycheck because my expenses increased, right? But at the time I was like, Lrato, this is not the perfect time for you to save as much money as you can. And that's what I did. And the second thing also that helped was to have a side hustle, right? My side hustle, at some point I would make about 10,000 in 1 month, and that money I took it and I invested it. Because one thing about me, I was like, I'm not going to waste money. At the time, I was like, this money cannot be wasted. Even though maybe I could have taken it and invested in myself, I regarded that to some extent as wasting money, because my focus was like, this is the perfect time for you to save as much as you can, and that's what I had to do. So having an extra income on the side helped a lot. Imagine if I was able to save and invest 4,000 to 5,000, and on the side I'm getting at least 3,000 every month. That goes a long way. So on a good month, I would save and invest 10,000 on a good month. And like I always say, that relying on one source of income is just close to relying on nothing. Because if something happens, then you have no other choice but to resort to that, right? And the one thing that I thank God for was to, plant an idea in my head that I got to monetize. And that was to use my knowledge to make an extra income. And the third thing I did was to avoid debt. The way I'm so afraid of debt, especially consumer debt, I'm like, You don't invite me here. Really do not invite me. But I avoided debt at all costs. Bad debt, I never had a credit card. I never just went to take a loan because I wanted to buy something. I avoided those kind of things because I had no business taking debt. And I told myself that the only time I will go and take debt is when I am going to buy a cash generating asset, because then that will be regarded as a good debt. And what made this easy for me to not go and get debt for silly things was that I did not inflate my lifestyle. When I moved from earning 8K to now earning 13,000, I did not inflate my lifestyle. In fact, I downgraded because I went to move in with my friend, and that saved me a lot of money because we were sharing rent. That helped a lot. And given the fact that I'm only starting out with my personal finance journey, I blocked out everything. To some extent, I was not even buying anything because I was like, I need to save and invest as much as I can. And that is not healthy to some extent. That is not healthy, but I had to do what I had to do at that point in time. So I had one account, the Rage account, that I hardly ever used, and if ever I have taken something from Rage, I would just pay you 60 rands, 20 rands, and then I just get so tired of having to, go there and pay every month, paying 20 rands and 16. It's like, I'm just going to pay the entire amount and close this off. I haven't used it in months, honestly, because the thought of money just leaving my account, I don't care if it's just 20 rands or 60 rands, knowing that it's going somewhere and it's not building me, I have a problem with that. And yes, credit is very much important. We have to build that. But for me, should you just build credit knowing very well that you're not going to want to use it anytime soon, And I did not even want to adopt that to say, build a credit in case if you want to use it. Instead, I said, save and invest as much as you can so you can avoid to rely on credit, right? And as I say that, I am going to use credit when I buy cash generating assets. So at that point in time, I had no business thinking of buying those kind of assets because firstly, I was on a contract and I could not make any financial commitments given the fact that I'm on a contract. It doesn't make sense to me. Even if I was to buy assets that are going to make me money, but I do not want to risk that because if my contract ends and I take time to find something and my assets now cannot be employed to generate money, then I was going to take my savings and my investments to pay, that part of the loan. So I did not want to even think of debt. So I was not going hard on building my credit score. It's not so bad. I think it's at 600 and I was like, okay, fine, it's okay. And by the time I know that, I now have a plan in place and I have to go and finance an asset, then I will look to now build credit very seriously so. But at that point in time, I was like, okay, listen, forget about that. Just have one that is active, that is, running a bit, and just leave it at that. So avoiding debt helped a lot. And the next thing I did was to have a budget. You guys know that I share my budget with you, how my expenses are looking like and how much I'm able to save and invest. So having a budget in place helped because there's no way that I was going to effectively manage my money if I do not have an idea of where my money is going. So I needed to have a budget in place and that helps. Till this day, I still budget my money. And the last thing that I did was that I built systems, not goals. Achieving the 100,000 mark was not a goal, but I just told myself that if I have systems in place, this is going to help me to, hit whatever number, given what my salary allows, because we always have to work with what your income allows, because it does not make sense that now I'm gonna say I want to have 100,000 by the end of the year, knowing very well that I do not have resources in place that are going to allow for that to happen. So I just focused on having systems, and that is to make sure that I have savings and investments as items in my budget to say I don't have any other choice, but the first thing to do is to pay myself. When I get paid, I pay myself. Before I spend my money, I am going to save and invest. And that system works perfectly. And it's even going to allow you to, have goals, right? And hence I'm saying that hitting the 100,000 mark was never a goal for me. For me, if a goal is a thing, that was to just say, let's save and invest every month. Let's save and invest every month. Whatever that you can, save and invest every month. And that's the system that I have put in place to say, After getting paid, you save and invest. After getting something on the side, you save and invest. Take a huge portion of it, you save and invest. How much I was saving, the goal, I did not even want to tap into that, because also I think it's limiting to some extent if you think about it, that if you say your goal is to save and invest 5,000 at the end of every month, then the day you have maybe 3,000 in excess, you're not going to save and invest it, even though you can save and invest more. But because your goal is to save 5,000 every month, you don't care. As long as you have hit that goal, any extra income you get, you're going to, chow it and not save and invest it. So for me, was having a system in place instead of goals. And I just told myself that as long as you have something to save and invest at the end of every month, that is going to, make you feel financially responsible, because that is a thing, to know that you're taking care of your finances. And getting to the 100,000 mark was easy, right? And it's because of the system that I had in place. It was easy. And one day I woke up and I was like, okay, so when I get paid this month and I save and invest 3,000, I'm gonna have 100,000. And I was like, oh, okay, quite cool, and keep it moving. So it was easy like that. And I never put a timeline to it, right? And also because I say it was not a goal to begin with. I just woke up one day and I was like, oh, we have this. Okay, thanks to the system that we have in place. But honestly, it took a lot, because I had to deprive myself of certain things, because I had to be way too frugal. And also, I do not understand why you would, enjoy yourself more than you are saving and investing. And I think for me, that helped a lot, because it helped me to live within my means. It helped me to not inflate my lifestyle. It helped me to avoid debt, right? And I just told myself that, girl, if you have paid rent, if you have paid, all the necessary bills, and have like done your hair, you've done your nails, like you look polished, then what more do you still want, right? So my guilt-free money was way less. And I told myself that you have to survive with this amount of money. You have to make it work, because at this point in time, we have no choice but to save as much as we can. And honestly, when I look at it now, I'm like, I'm so grateful that I did that, honestly, because today things look completely different. And with how things are, I don't see how I was going to achieve financial stability, if I'm just being honest. Because when I look at my money, I'm like, hey, girl, So I'm very much grateful that I was able to achieve that. And the foundation is there. And now if I fail to, meet an emergency or something from my salary, then I know that, well, I have something. So it really helps with having the financial peace of mind, knowing that I have something. And honestly, financial stability looks different, right? To all of us, it looks different. You might not need to have a lot of money to feel financially stable. You don't even need to be earning a lot to begin with, right? But you just need to have systems in place that allow you to save and invest, because you achieve stability by being able to meet your financial obligations, being able to save and invest, build emergency funds. And with any income, as long as you're managing your expenses, you can achieve that. You can build this stability at any age. Wherever you are, you can build it. You just need to ask yourself, what does it look like for you, and how much do you need to feel stable? And I say all the time that you need to look at what could be an emergency to you, so you know how much you're going to need in your emergency funds. If I feel that my emergency can amount to 20,000, you can find that yours, looking at where you are in life, can only amount to 5,000. So you're not going to need to have a lot as I would. So look at your life and ask yourself, what do I need? How much do I need? If things were to go south, how does it look like? What can I do that does not require me to pop money from my account? So just factor in all of those things and make sure that you build your emergency funds based on your reality, not what the doctor says, not what the next person says, but based on what you know how your life looks like. And once you're done with the emergency funds, trust me, you're going to feel financially stable, because you know that whatever that comes, I am not going to resort to debt. And in a nutshell, that's what financial stability is: to not resort to debt, knowing that you have enough in your savings and investments to weather any storm that life throws at you. And that's how I achieved financial stability at 26. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that this was helpful and encouraging, that you're going to start your personal finance journey today and make sure that you set yourself up for financial success and financial peace of mind. Once again, thank you so much for watching. I will see you in my next video. Bye.